Welcome to the best of what's new in Java EE8. During this short video, you will discover the top 5 newest and best features of Java EE8. Hi, my name is Alex Thiedem and I am passionate about Java Enterprise Edition. It's a powerful and lightweight platform that I've been developing applications with for well over 10 years. In this video, I will show you 5 of the best new features of Java EE8. So I hope you'll stay with me as I've got some really interesting features to show you. If you don't have time right now to watch this video, then why not download my new book Java EE8 Only What's New, which covers all of the new APIs, features, and changes, all backed up with plenty of code examples. It's available at a special JWB conference discount of only $9.95 from the bit.ly link you see on the screen. I will also be presenting a talk at the conference about the new JSON API entitled JSON and Java EE Play Nice. I will talk about how JSON handling in the Java EE application is now much easier than ever before. Okay, that's enough about me. Let's get on with the interesting stuff. So the features I will cover in this video are the brand new Security API, which consists of 3 excellent new features: an identity store abstraction, a new security context, and a new annotation-driven authentication mechanism that makes web.xml file declarations obsolete. This last one is what I'll be talking about today. Then I will look at the new reactive client in JAX-RS 2.1 that embraces the reactive programming style and allows combinations of endpoint results. I will move on to the new JSON-binding API that provides a native Java EE solution to JSON serialization and deserialization. Then comes the interesting new feature in CDI 2.0 that allows bootstrapping of CDI in Java SE applications. And finally, I will talk about the server push feature in Servlet 4.0 that aligns the servlet specification with HTTP2. Are you ready? So let's get to it. Probably the single most significant new feature added to Java EE8 is the new Security API. The primary motivations for this new API were to simplify, standardize, and modernize the way security concerns are handled across containers and implementations. And they have done a great job. The configuration of web authentication has been modernized thanks to 3 new annotations that make web.xml file declarations redundant. The new Security Context API standardizes the way the servlet and EJB container perform authentication. And the new identity store abstraction simplifies the use of identity stores. So let's take a look at the first of these new features, annotation-driven authentication mechanism. This feature is all about configuring web security, which traditionally requires XML declaration in the web.xml file. This is no longer necessary, thanks to the HTTP authentication mechanism interface, which represents an HTTP authentication and comes with 3 built-in CDI-enabled implementations, each representing one of the 3 ways web security can be configured. They are triggered with the use of one of these annotations: basic authentication mechanism definition, form authentication mechanism definition, and custom form authentication mechanism definition. They replicate the functionality of the classic HTTP basic authentication, form, and custom form-based authentication already available in the servlet container. So, for example, to enable basic authentication, all that is required is to add the basic authentication mechanism definition annotation to your servlet. You can now throw away your XML configurations and use one of these new annotations to drive web security. Let's take a look at the new reactive client in JAX-RS 2.1 and how it embraces the reactive programming style. The reactive approach is centered on the idea of data flows, with an execution model that propagates changes through the flow. A typical example would be a JAX-RS method call. When the call returns, the next action is performed on the result of the method call, which might be a continuation, completion, or error. You can think of it like an asynchronous pipeline or processes, with the next process acting on the result of the previous process, and then passing the result of its process to the next one in the chain. The flow of data is composable, so you can compose and transform many flows into one. The reactive feature is enabled by calling the Rx method on an instance of the invocation builder, used to construct client instances. Its return type is a completion stage, with a parameterized response type. The completion stage interface was introduced in Java 8, and suggests some interesting possibilities. For example, in this code snippet, you can see that 2 calls are made to 2 different endpoints, and the 2 results are then combined to generate one single result. Now let's move on to the next great feature, the new JSON-binding API. This API provides a native Java EE solution to JSON serialization and deserialization. Previously, if you wanted to serialize and deserialize Java to and from JSON, you would have to rely on a third-party API, like Jackson or JSON. Not anymore. With the new JSON-binding API, you have all the features you can possibly want natively available. Now, it couldn't be simpler to generate a JSON document from a Java object. Just call the toJSON method and pass it the instance you want to serialize. And it's just as simple to deserialize a JSON document to a Java object. Just pass the JSON document and the target class to the fromJSON method, and out pops your Java object. But that's not all. It is possible to customize the default serialization and deserialization behavior by annotating fields, Java bean methods, and classes. For example, you could use the JSON-B nillable annotation to customize null handling, and the JSON-B property order annotation to customize property order, which you would specify at the class level. You can specify the number format with the JSON-B number format annotation, and change the name of a field with the JSON-B property annotation. Alternatively, you could choose to handle customization with the runtime configuration builder JSON-B config. Either way, the JSON-binding API provides extensive capabilities for the serialization and deserialization of Java objects. Now let's move on to the next API, the CDI 2.0 API. This version boasts many new features, and one of the more interesting features is the capability to bootstrap CDI in Java SE applications. To use CDI in Java SE, the CDI container must be explicitly bootstrapped. This is achieved by calling the static method newInstance on the SE container initializer abstract class. It returns an SE container instance that is a handle to the CDI runtime, with which you can do CDI resolution as shown in this code snippet. It has access to the bean manager, which is the core entry point to CDI. Now the CDI bean you want to use is retrieved with the select method by passing it the name of the class of the bean that you want to retrieve. Further configurations can be made to the SE context by adding interceptors, extensions, alternatives, properties, and decorators. And finally, but not least, the server push feature in Servlet 4.0, which aligns the servlet specification with HTTP 2. To understand this feature, you first need to know what server push is. Well, server push is one of the many new features in the HTTP 2 protocol, and is designed to anticipate client-side resource requirements by pushing those resources into the browser's cache. So when the client sends a request for a web page and receives a response back from the server, the resources it needs are already in the browser's cache. This is a performance-enhancing feature that improves the speed that web pages load. Now the server push feature is exposed via a push builder instance, which is obtained from an HTTP servlet request instance. Take a look at this code snippet. You can see that the path to the header.png image is set on the push builder instance via the path method, and pushed to the client by calling push. When the method returns, the path and conditional headers are cleared in readiness for the builder's reuse. Then the menu CSS file is pushed, and then the AJAX JavaScript file is pushed to the client. By the time the servlet doGet method finishes executing, the resources will have arrived at the browser. The HTML generated from the JSP that requires these resources will not need to request them from the server, as they will already be in the browser cache. Well, that's it for the best of the new features in Java EE 8. But there are many more features that I could tell you about. If you want to know more, then my new book Java EE 8 Only What's New is the book for you, and it's available for a special conference price of only $9.95. Follow the link on the screen to get your copy today. I hope you've enjoyed this mini presentation, and I'm glad you've made it this far. That's all for now.